Hello everyone, Kenty Tiger here with Bengali Engineering in Play. Excuse me. Start off with a frog in my throat. Um, I got a little overzealous and started building, even though I really wanted to show everything. So, um, as we talked about at the end of the last stream, one of the things that we need to be able to do is to move um, unprocessed materials from the storage side, the main storage side, in just as effectively as otherwise. Now, finished materials, obviously, we don't need to worry about. They're there, and they're fine. Um, in the case of the raw materials, we still need some mechanism in place to be able to pull stuff through. So let's find out what is wrong. We need motors. Do I have motors? Motors. Got plenty of motors. Large tubes, small tubes, steel plate, interior plate. I have no interior plate. Cue that from here. So, production, interior plate. Let's queue up a whole bunch of that. Alright. Now, this one I am not going to create two of because this is going to be one of those, it doesn't happen very often. So what we have here is a return line. So this is a kind of a subset of the pull-in system, and this one is also a drain all, but it is a whitelist because we're just going to pull in ore. Add or whitelist drain all. Now, here's the bottom side: is that we do not want ice to come through, and here's why we don't want ice to come through. Because it will loop. And let's go ahead and see if we can demonstrate what the looping actually is. So, ore return. Okay, so I'm going to call that the ore return. The reason why I call that the ore return is because it's taking ore from the main storage, bringing it back over to the right side. So it's a connection point from the end back to the beginning. Okay, let's see if we can demonstrate what I mean by looping. So if you remember, this finished items includes ice. Ice, remember, is ore. Okay, so ice will pull through with ore. So what I've basically done is created a mechanism. So we dump, let's say ice. Okay, so the idea behind sorters is we want to make sure that we never create a mechanism by which we can loop. So ice is in here, it comes through, it does what it does, and this sorter pulls it through, dumps it into this container. This container is connected backwards through this thing, which allows ice via ore, which then dumps it back into here. So we basically have two sorters that are drain all that will constantly be cycling ice. Okay, that's not what we want. So how do we solve that problem? We block ice. Right? Pretty straightforward. Now, the problem is when we have a white list next to a black list, we can't do whitelist and blacklist in the same sorter, which means I need to put another sorter in here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a 7. We're going to use our grind color here, this hideous, hideous purple. We're going to change that one into that. Then we're going to go back into the red. We have a second sorter sitting here. And I'm going to wait. Hopefully that will finish. And here's what we're going to do. This is sorter. And this is the ice blocker. Okay? So, we don't need to drain all because the other one is going to function and do that. But we want to blacklist ice. Okay? Everything else can go through. So we're only blacklisting ice. Everything else will travel through this thing. So, blacklist ice. Just blocks ice. Now we have eliminated ice from our ore because the ore will pull through, but if it's ice, it won't let it through, which means it cannot loop. Okay, and once we're done there, we continue on with our creation. I can, in fact, turn on the drain all function here, which I already did. And let's see what inventory. There's nothing in there. Okay. And so we'll go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and plug that in. We conveyors being conveyors, I could actually connect these anywhere. So I could literally connect that right there and it would push it through. But just because we're going to do this the busy way. So this connects into that conveyor there, which ultimately is going to push that into there. Now, because this is directly connected overhead, it could also push this backwards through there. But, like I said, we could have done the exact same thing by creating a connection point there. We just didn't. All right, so let's go ahead and test. This is going to do a little bit of cheaty. So, ore return, whitelist, ore. Okay, drain all. Now, if everything is working correctly here, this should have nothing going through it, which is true. Let's just for fun find something that we're a little bit low on. So we don't have a whole lot of platinum is not a big deal because you use so little platinum. So this is actually plenty enough platinum. Gold is kind of another one of those things that you don't use a whole lot of. Magnesium, we actually, if we get into ammo manufacturing, we're going to use a lot of magnesium. So let's go ahead and speaking of ammo, I do not have any ammo on this base. Okay, so I have the 2 Gatling guns out front that actually have no ammo, which would be, useless. So here's what we're going to do. Now, one of the mods that I like to use is the mid-space admin helpers commands. And one of those commands, so I'm going to bring up my chat window, is inventory insert. So right now the inventory insert is relative to the container that I'm pointing at, or rather the block that has an inventory that I'm pointing at. So in this case, inventory insert magnesium ore, because there's magnesium powder, which is the finished product, magnesium ore, okay, specifically ore. This is an unfinished raw material, right? Now, I happen to be putting 1,000,000 in there. Now, 1,000,000 sounds like a lot, but it's really not. So by the time magnesium actually refines down into powder, it's like 10 or 12 to 1. So this really isn't that much. Okay, so what this command is going to do is insert 1,000,000 magnesium ore into this container. Now, if everything works right, then those sorters are going to pull that through. It's not ice, so it's going to let it through. It is ore, so it's going to pull it through and then dump it back into the original container, the original pull-in container. Now, once it does that, then the refineries will have access to it, and it should pull that all the way through. Okay, so let me go ahead and put that command in there. Sorry. This will probably be done before we get over here to see it. Inventory, yes it is. And the refineries will probably also be done before we see it. But it should have dumped it into this container. And again, I think it did it all faster than we could see it. Refineries, yes indeed. Alright, it looks like it worked, but let's go ahead. Remember, this was a 600 something, low 600s, and there we go, 622.4. So remember that number, 622.4K. Let's do this whole thing again. If everything works right, remember we're putting in ore, and we should be getting out magnesium ingots, or sorry, powder. Okay, so there's another 1,000,000 that went through. Again, this is all going to happen way too fast. Let's do an inventory just in case. Nope, it's just pulling it through way too fast. So 662, 662, and now we are at 722. Okay, so no ore. So we are indeed processing the magnesium. Okay, so that sorter, that return sorter, is working as designed, as intended. And we can tell it's not looping ice. There should be Alright, okay, so the gas generators have actually pulled in all the ice. There's obviously a shit ton of ice here. So we can't really tell about the ice, because obviously the gas generators will not let loose of their ice. Once they have ice, the only way to do anything is to pull it backwards. So these guys are actually interconnected underneath, backwards through. So right now it does appear as though the sorting system is functioning as designed, which is to say the pull-in system pulls in, dumps it into this cabinet here. If there are any finished products, then these two sorters, the white ones, will pull that material through and dump it into the main storage, whether that be ammo, anything else. Any finished products, it's all going to go through. With the caveat, as we mentioned before, the bottles. In the case of dumping raw materials, which is to say ore, it's going to pull that, or rather you can push it into the main supply system. But if we did not have this return system, then there would be no way to actually get that raw material over here to this side to get it into the refineries. So that's what this sorter was all about, was really to give us that return path. So it doesn't matter which direction it comes in. It can either come in on the pull-in side or come in on the main storage side. It's still going to get into the refineries, refined, and then dumped back in using sorters to put all the material in. So the reason I like sorters is because the refineries, when they refine stuff, the refineries actually have a decent size inventory. So they just, everything sits there. And if there's nothing that will pull all that material out of them, it will just sit there. Now, the assemblers, of course, will, if they need it, pull it in. But, you know, I like being able to pull all that stuff out and just dumping it into storage containers. So, effectively, what we have done here is pretty much finished our base. So, we really do have everything on our base that we needed. But there's a couple things left. So one of the things that I always like to do, and this is a me thing, is I like having the cargo teleport system by Paycast over here. So I'm going to build a cargo teleport system. So here's what I want to do. We're only going to build one system, and because my single systems are on this side, we're going to do that over here. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to take a large thing over here, just because I'm going to paint it blue. And I want that up at the ceiling level. I think I just have to make sure I'm putting this. Nope, I do want it up here. So, to number 3, pull in a number 9, and there it is. Figure out what we're missing here. I think gravity generator components, I think, is one of the things that this is going to need. But let's go over to number 1 and pull out our welder and figure out a little more accurately. So superconductors, gravity generator, so I was right about that, and interior plate in this case. So we need more interior plate. We have everything else, but we need superconductor conduits and we need gravity generator components. So interior plate, gravity generator, and superconductors. And let's see about this one. Interior plate. Whoa. Yeah, because I tried to balance a few things out, so interior plate is definitely a big deal. Alright. Alright. Any port will do. Okay. Production. So, interior plate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gravity generator components. Gravity generator. So let's, I don't remember how many I needed. So let's do 500 of those and superconductors. Let's do 500 of those. Okay, I have particular naming conventions. So this is going to look a little bit strange, but else we're receiver. Even though this is not an elsewhere container, that's what it gets named. So elsewhere receiver, this is going to take a little while apparently. There's the gravity generators, and superconductors are going to take a little while probably. So the idea is that everything that has a cargo transmitter that's set up in a particular way would be able to transmit to this particular cargo transmitter receiver or cargo teleporter receiver and dump into this container. What we want to do is to actually plug this into the pull-in sorter so it pulls everything in. So one of the things that we can do while we're doing this is actually interconnect onto, so I want to pull in underneath this receiver or this sorter here. So what I'm going to do is create another place to pull in. Whoops. And what I need to do is get rid of this piece of the floor. And then change to my red. And we'll paste that. Change to blue. The reason I'm changing to the blue, and normally my blue is a dedicated color. Really what I want to do is just keep the I want to keep the side of this open, so even though I'm traveling up the wall here, the bulkhead, so effectively what we have done, so this device here is going to pull in that material from all of the transmitters that are wherever they are, and dump into this container, and then the pull-in sorter here, because it's interconnected, is actually going to pull the materials, everything that's here, out of here and pull it into the system normally. So basically what I just interconnected was into the pull-in system. So I kind of cheated there, but it's effective. Okay. So in this case, we're still waiting, I think, on gravity generators. Go ahead and 8. Oh, superconductors. So still superconductor conduits that we're waiting on. So back to production. We'll see where it is, and we are saying missing cobalt, and I don't think that's the case. Maybe missing gold. Oh, I know why. Because we're back to these things are too stupid. Still not. Still not working. Production. Again, one of the stupid things about it fills up and then it can't continue building. So setting these up, and I'm not going to steal Paycast's thunder. They're fairly easy. So in this case, this is a receiver, which means I'm receiving from. So F and T, transmit and from, or to and from, depending on how you want to look at it. And my convention is I have a container called cargo transmit. So this will always receive from a container called cargo transmit. So this is a from cargo transmit. In this case, I want to drain all. So it's pulling it in blacklist nothing, allow everything. Okay. So so that's all as it should be. This is as it should be. That's named correctly. So the only problem we have is right here. Small steel tubes. And of course we don't have any small steel tubes. There we go, and it turned green. So, what have we effectively done here? We have created, obviously this is a mod. We have created a mechanism by which anything that needs to transmit materials from one place or another can transmit to here, to this cargo container, via this device here, this magic modded device called a cargo teleporter. So nice stuff. So we have the ability to move cargo without connecting, which is always nice. In fact, the miner over here, we'll go ahead and show off the miner. One of the features of this miner, you see this little black panel here, is actually a cargo teleporter. So it will pull material out of a container called cargo transmit and then transmit that over the airwaves to this guy over here that is a receiver. We'll then dump it into this container, which will then be pulled into the system via this pull-in sorter and then go into the system. So in the case of a miner, it's pulling in a lot of raw materials, and it will literally transmit those materials, so I don't have to stop. I don't have to set down, and I don't have to stop at all. I just keep mining for as long as I want to mine. As long as I am within antenna range, then it will transmit using this antenna and receive using that antenna, or rather transmit via the antenna on the device, on the miner in this case, and then be able to receive over here, dump all that material in, and these refineries can start working on it. So actually a very convenient methodology, and I like using it as a just to speed up the process of refining. Assembling is assembling. You basically, you can queue up all kinds of things, but in the end, assembly is about you have something you need to build, and you queue up the parts for it, and you build it. So you can't really say, I want X number of this. Now, one of the things I could put in here, there's a couple. Tim was one of them, and Teledyne, I think. Inventory manager, and there's now an ISI, which apparently is quite a bit more simple to use. Tim is somewhat broken. Anyway, I have not yet really looked and researched about ISI, but the nice thing about any kind of inventory manager is you can actually set baseline, these are the things that are missing, so create them. So they queue things up in your inventory and make sure you have X number of whatever in your inventory. So that would be the advantage, and I think I do want to research that out. So maybe let's have a look. So if we look at our inventory, we have plenty of iron. We have no gravel, and the reason we have no gravel is that all got trace element reduced. So I pretty much got rid of all my gravel. So iron, nickel, cobalt, magnesium, iron, nickel, cobalt, obviously there's a whole lot in there. Magnesium, silicon, magnesium. So one of the things that I do want to do, and let me go ahead and do it, is production. I want to queue up NATO ammo. Maybe I don't want to queue up NATO ammo. Ideally would be to actually queue up KTC ammo, but let's go ahead and keep this reasonably vanilla. So there's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. All right. So 5,000 magazines of that is actually quite a bit. But here's where we have some problems, is that we have all of these, and in some cases we have quite a bit, but in some cases we don't. So let's go ahead and start looking at ISI, because I've seen some success. So what I want to do is bring up, and we'll look at this together. So let's go ahead and bring my browser over here. This happens to be Chrome. We'll go over here. So this is everything I have in my Steam Workshop. This is configuration. Okay, this was the shields. So energy shields by Scython. Okay, I was thinking Cylon, and I was thinking, okay, well that's totally Battlestar Galactica. So it wasn't. So siphons, energy shields, which are actually really, really cool. So let's go backwards to the Steam Workshop in this case. I want to do inventory management, and we'll see what comes up. Okay, so we have simple inventory, ice. So here, Taladins. Okay, so that was one of them that was actually really, really cool. And Issy's inventory manager, which is the new one. So what I want to do is go ahead and go to this one. I'm going to go ahead and control up arrow so we can actually read this. So Issy's inventory manager. Let's scroll down a little bit here and see some of the things we can do. So this is an inventory management script that is capable of sorting all your items in type-specific cargo containers, which I don't really need to do. Cargo containers are assigned automatically if there is no cargo container of the given type, or all other containers are full. So also built into the script is a refinery ore balance system that keeps all your refineries and arc furnaces working at maximum efficiency. For all features, see the main features list. Sorting. Internal sorting priorities. Container prioritization system. Assigning new containers if a container type is full. Special containers. Auto crafting, automatic production of an adjustable amount of items. So that's really what I want to do. Automatic disassemble of all components above your set wanted amounts. Okay, that might be interesting. Assembler cleanup. Assemblers are cleaned if they get too full. Ooh, that's really neat. Basic setup. Set up a programmable block with the script. Check the code. Remember exit and done. Alright, so we have to figure out how to do this. It's quite long. I decided to move my guide, so what we're going to do is do this in a new tab. And then, alright, buy me a beer. Alright, so the setting things up. So I guess we're going to need to spend some time on that particular thing. So let's go back up to the top here. Don't really need to favorite. Actually, let me see if I'm still logged in here. I might not be. Yes, I am. Subscribe. So, and we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so subscribed, which is great. And then let's go ahead and see if we can figure out basic setup. Subscribe to the script. Build a programmable block. I've already got that block. Browse workshop, blah, blah, blah. Remember code, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Tutorial. I'm not going to go there. Container. Container priorities. So a lot of this I really don't need to do because it's going to manage this automatically, I think. Automatic bottle refilling, internal sorting. So I guess one of the things that we can do is let it do what it does. Now, here's the only thing I worry about is so let's go ahead and move this off the screen. We might bring it back. The only thing I worry about with Izzy is because I'm using sorters. Izzy obviously is not going to be able to move materials around as it wants. Okay, so let's go ahead and okay, that was a little strange. Inventory management. Let's just do that. Okay, edit. Browse workshop. How about refresh? There we go. Izzy's inventory manager. Do an OK. We're going to check code. OK. One of the things, enable auto crafting of components. An LCD named LCD auto crafting is required where you can set the wanted amount. Okay, so we're going to do C.
No energy.
Remember that. This has multi-LCD support. Just name all the LCDs the same name and append the numbers like 1, 2, 3. Okay, so Boolean enable auto crafting is true, string auto crafting blah. Okay, so we're gonna start there. Okay, so it does say it's statistics resource, so we probably are moving stuff around. So having said that, let's go ahead and create. We're going to do that down here. I think we're going to put them on the bulkhead right here. G, all right. LCD panel. Put it right in the center, or put it. Maybe I'll put it right there. I think we'll do that. And then we'll do the same thing over here. That's the ideal place for it, right? And 0, K, and we're going to change this into auto crafting. This is 2. This will be okay, so it's telling me what the wanted amount actually is. Current amount. Okay, so I really don't know if that's the wanted amount or not. That's just what was in there. So what I really want to do I don't know if this is accurate. Okay, but so this is the information that is in give me half a second, sorry. Step away and come back. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use the readily available camera phone to take a picture of this. So these numbers look pretty good. I don't see why this would not work. So let's just out of curiosity, let's go back over to this, pull it in, and read a little more. Auto-crafting. Zoop. This script is able to auto-craft your components using every assembler available on the grid. There is no need to assign a specific assembler. Okay, good. Splits the needed amount evenly. To start off, you need to build an LCD and name it LCD Auto-Crafting. Script will put a list of components that are auto-craftable on the LCD. To set a new wanted amount, you simply have to edit the text on the LCD and change the number to your likings, which is actually really awesome. By default, the assembly queue is sorted based on the most needed component, which makes sense. Auto-crafting, blah blah blah. Okay, seems pretty straightforward. Modded items. So this is another important thing that I've seen on the videos of folks who are using this. This script is able to craft any modded item that is craftable in a vanilla assembler, but it has to learn the crafting recipe first. In order to teach the script, simply queue up 20 to 50 items manually without any other item in the queue. Auto disassembly. If you set up your auto crafting and set all you wanted out, you can enable automatic disassembler in the config section. Heading auto. This feature will disassemble all your excess materials automatically using all available assemblers. So Boolean disassemble excess false. So my guess is you would set that to true. So I think we're actually going to do that. So let's go ahead and we'll go back to the game here. And in this case, there we go. So I'm going to roll right down the list here. Steel plate, I just have to find some of these. So this is 300,000. Interior plate is 55,000. NATO. Girder. Let's see what girder is going to be. Normally, girder 3.5, so 3,500. Bulletproof glass, 12,000. Now, these numbers are neither right or wrong. They're just numbers. So whatever you want to put, I'm just using M Masters because I think the numbers are reasonable. Computers. I'm gonna do 12,000 computers because solar cells. Display. Oops, that was solar cells. Power cell is going to be 2,800. Display. Where is display? 500. Construction components. Reactor components. tube. 26,000. Large tube. 6,000. Metal grid. Grid. 16,000 power cell. I already did that one. Superconductor. Let's add that one. Component. Production component. I'm not even sure what that one is for. So let's run that simultaneous there. NATO. Gravity generator.
No energy.
250 radio communication. Radio comms. 250. That's about right. Detectors. The reason why I want 0 of those is because I want the nicer ones, to put it mildly. Alright, so there's these things. I'm going to do the OK. So, wow, it really queued a lot of those. So what I don't know, so I changed one. I'm curious to see, did it update over here? And this went blank. See if it's actually doing anything here. Maybe or maybe not. So one of the other things I needed to change in here, edit, and in auto crafting, disassemble excess. That to true. Sort assembler Q true. Alright. Check code. And remember. So the real question mark here is the fact that this is a sorted let's go into production. I'm just curious as to yeah, I mean it's got stuff queued. Yep, okay, so it's doing stuff. I'm curious about this one being blank over here. Maybe it will update when it's all done. Looks like those are changing slowly. So eventually, I think we'll want to do canvas. I do not know how long it will take for this thing to do what it does here. Obviously, it is changing. I don't know how often that updates. Every 10 seconds, it looks like. Oh no, it's every 5 seconds. Wow, so some of these are actually rising pretty quickly. So the girder came up to 3,500 and is done. Power cell is now up at 2,800, is done. Solar cell is almost at 3,200.
No energy.
Should be done. Yeah, well, not quite, but. So it looks like it updates about every 5 seconds, which is probably plenty. I guess are a little bit arbitrary in some ways. Okay, so superconductor came up. There's these interesting ones that just have, very few. It just seems like it would percolate. Computers, bulletproof glass. Those are all at the very bottom of everything. 3. So solar cells is almost done. This is kind of like watching grass grow, of course, but. I'm guessing that this one over here will actually update when it finishes the cube. So let me bring this back in. Internal inventory, bottle, assigning new container priorities. LCD panel output. You can define an LCD panel at the bottom of the config section to show information of the programmable block. By default, an LCD panel named LCD sorting will be used. Alright, so let's go ahead and we'll use that. So I need to name a panel LCD sorting. Hopefully I can use LCD1, LCD2, LCD group. Okay, LCD sorting. Let's try it.
No energy.
I think I want to put so I'll put an LCD there, so that's going to be the sorting on that side, and then this is going to be so this, I think, yeah, looks like it. Maybe that's where that LCD group comes in. Let's look at that again. LCD group. LCDs, LCD sorting. Oh, unless I just name all of them LCD sorting, because clearly I didn't like that. Or maybe I just call it all LCD sorting, huh? Is that changing now? Case I have two LCDs named the same thing, so I don't know if that's a good idea or not. Right, well, obviously I have a lot of work to do in figuring out how things are supposed to work. Not sure if things are still, yeah, it does look like they're still working, but I am now over my hour, so I'm going to continue playing with this, trying to figure out how to make some of these different things work. So as I do that, I think we're mostly done with the base. So the base has most everything it needs, and we'll go from there. So, with that having been said, this is Kenty Tiger signing off. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.